Hello, everybody, and welcome to a rather special episode of Dan and Frankie Go to Hollywood. This is our end of year roundup for 2024, where we're going to be listing not our top 10 movies, but our top 11 movies, because, like we did with our favorites list, this one goes to 11. Now, we're doing this in two different formats. There is going to be a YouTube format and the usual podcast audio format. So if you right now are listening to this on Spotify or wherever you listen to us and you think to yourself, I'd like to have a look at what these absolutely gorgeous human beings look like, then jump over to YouTube, Dan and Frankie Go to Hollywood. You'll be able to find us and you can actually watch us do our thing. But anyway, so for those of you who don't know and who can't read the little thing down the bottom there, my name is Dan.
And I'm Frankie.
And over here we have
Nobbins.
Nobbins. That's
Do you know what,
right.
Dan?
What?
That's a very interesting point because obviously our pictures are in a different order because you just pointed at me for Nobbins.
Oh wow. Brilliant. I'm
If it's
I'm
recording your screen, it'll look all right.
well, yeah, see, there you go. That's fine. So wow.
But it was just
That's
funny for me.
that's possibly Frankie. I might be Nobbins. I don't know who that is. Like we're just it's chaos already. So anyway, yes, like I said, we're gonna be doing our top 10 of 2024. No, we're not, we're doing our top 11 of 2024. Hard to get my head around that. And yes, got to keep in mind that there are people who are going to only be listening to this, so we probably shouldn't really, be like, "Wow, look at your background; it looks so interesting," or anything like that. But yeah. But anyway, how's everybody doing? How you doing, Frankie?
I'm good. I'm still on holidays from work, so
Mm-hmm.
it's a good time. Been
Yeah.
pretty busy. Doing a lot of started my 2025 with just binging 2024 movies that I wanted to see before finalizing my list. So
Right. Right.
now I just feel free and I am just dying to watch some old movies again. But
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I've still got I think no 6 days in total
Mm-hmm.
before I go back to work. So
Cool.
I'm trying not to think about that.
Yeah. Hey, look, I'm back tomorrow, so let's just count yourself lucky.
Yeah, work opens tomorrow, but I always take extra time at Christmas because it's the easiest time for me to be away from work longer.
Right, right, right. And how about you, Nobbins? What's going on in your proverbial neck of the proverbial woods?
Well, like Frankie, I'm still on leave from work as well, so I don't go back to work till the 14th.
Ah,
So
I feel
it's
great.
39 degrees down here in Melbourne and 40
Oh,
tomorrow, so I will be not leaving the house.
yeah, yeah. No, that is absolutely understandable.
It's actually
Uh,
cooled down a little bit here. It's only like late 20s, so
hmm,
we're doing pretty good. It's been breezy here for me because I live near the beach, so it's been pretty nice actually
Nice.
for Brisbane summer,
oh, that's
which is not nice.
in your beachside mansion that you bought with all the royalties we've been getting from this podcast over the last year. Like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Like, my helicopter just got delivered this morning. I'm actually going to come and visit you after we do this. Yeah, go for a spin in the old chopper. Get to the chopper. Yeah.
I think
Um,
getting the helicopter made out of pure gold was a mistake. I'm not sure if that thing's going to get off the ground.
I couldn't afford the diamond one. Okay, I'm sorry. Like, we didn't earn that much. I mean, so what was everyone's overall opinion of 2024 in movies? Let's start with you, Nobbins. Like, how'd you go? Like, what you know, what do you think
Well, from
overall?
an overall point of view, I thought it was a high quality year.
Mm,
So I actually struggled to make the list of 11.
hmm.
There's quite a few more that I could have put in there, and yeah, I think I watched 191 movies overall, which
Nice.
is quite a lot for me.
Mm,
Usually I average somewhere under 100,
hmm.
and the 2024 releases were uniformly pretty good. Like
Yep.
especially in horror, there were just some horror classics this year.
Oh God, was that not a big year for horror? Like, yeah, I mean, Frankie, being like the biggest horror fan that I probably know, like, yeah, you had a good time, didn't you?
Yeah, we had a lot of good movies this year. Horror's
Yeah,
actually been pretty good
yeah.
for a few years now. Like
Mm,
there's all the less interesting ones coming out, but there's
Mhm.
also lots of like really good ones as well. So
Mhm. Well, that was the
yeah.
thing. Like, it wasn't so much the volume of horror films, of which there were a lot, but yeah, I thought the quality last year was absolutely amazing. Like, there was just so many really, really great films, and
Yep.
like a variety of different kinds of horror and
Mm.
everything as well.
Mm.
We had some really fun horror films. There was some deeply, like shocking horror films. There was,
Mm.
yeah, quite a mixed bag. So yeah, no, it was good. So for anyone who may be tuning in for the first time, who knows? My year of movie watching wasn't as productive as it could have been, with the arrival of my amazing twin children, which yeah, took a lot of my time.
Talking about horror movies.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I'm going to write a horror screenplay called The Nappy. But yeah, no, it was definitely a worthy sacrifice, though. Yeah, but yeah, it was a little heartbreaking, though, especially watching you guys talking about so many amazing films. Like, I still haven't seen The Substance yet. I haven't seen just so many movies that you guys have been talking about, and I'm just sort of kicking back, like, yeah, that'd be nice. Strange Darling, that was another one that I didn't get around to seeing. There's been lots, but I did manage to squeeze the teat of 2024 and squirt out 11 movies that I really enjoyed.
Wow.
I
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know where that came from.
That
Actually, well, I
analogy
guess
really got out of hand.
babies
I don't
milking. I
know.
don't know. No, we're not milking babies. Okay, never mind. Um,
okay.
oh, this has already gone off the rails. But anyway,
All right, let me take over for a
good
while.
idea. Yes.
So I had a massive movie year. I was like the opposite of you. I watched more
Mm,
movies than I ever have, and I watched a lot of short films, but even with those short films, I still watched over 400, which I don't plan
wow.
to do this year because I just need to spend less time on movies to give more
Mm,
time to other things.
mm,
But yeah, ended up watching about 70 films that came out this year.
mhm.
So that was what I was working with to get my 11, which wasn't too bad. I think I had sort of 17 or something on my short list in the end that I had
Mm.
to really think about which ones would make it. So
So did you end up
yeah.
putting, like, five movies in the number eight spot,
No,
and like,
I
no?
have I have done this one the traditional way, and
Okay,
I
okay.
just have a handful of honorable mentions
Yeah.
to talk about at the end
I
that
did
didn't
notice
make
that.
it, but are still really good films.
Cool, cool. I did notice that Jeremy Johns, in his worst of the year list, he crammed three movies into one spot, and
Yeah.
I was just like, man, has he been listening to our podcast? Like, did he get inspiration?
No, it's just when you can fit things together like that, like he had a
Yeah, yeah.
reason for putting those ones together,
Hmm.
so
Yeah,
it's fine.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
fine.
All right. So, Frankie, do you want to explain the usual rules that we have as far as our throwing our movies in higher or
Yeah,
lower, that
well,
sort of thing?
the other thing is we're going by Australian release dates. So a few big movies that have 2025 releases here, like Nosferatu, The Brutalist. What else? I meant to write this down.
Blow,
Flow, and there's another big one. Oh, Conclave. So
The
yeah,
coffee table.
there's if you heard our
Ah,
Discoveries episode, there's a lot of dates for that movie. So
I'll just the Talon Dark Night Film Festival. It was just such an amazing night. But anyway, yeah. Please continue.
yeah, so we're not including any of those on our list. We'll see if they make the 2025 list. So,
Mm,
and the other thing we do is follow a bunch of podcasts that do the Bromley rule, apparently it's called, named after Patrick Bromley from F This Movie, where if any of us mention a movie that one of the other people has higher on their list, they'll say higher and we won't talk about it till we get to its highest position.
hmm.
And that's pretty
Sounds good.
much the only rule that we go by.
It is. I'm just looking actually at my little avatar behind Nobbins. I'm going to have to change the hair on that because I now have blue
mm,
hair. So I I need to get onto that, but not right now because we've got things to do. Cool. All right. Well, I reckon we should just get into this. Let's start with number 11. Who wants to go first?
I nominate Frankie.
Yeah, so do I. Go for it. Haha, you're it.
We're breaking the guest goes first thing.
Yeah, well.
Okay, my number 11, after much thinking, although I shuffled around a bit, so it wasn't just the number 11 spot, but the one that made it was the longest title of the year, Humanist Vampire Seeking Consenting Suicidal Person.
Oh my goodness. All right.
Which is a very cute movie, which you might not expect, but it's about this young girl, or, not young, she's grown up, but young, and she doesn't want to kill people to drink their blood, and she's in like a vampire family, and it's like a coming of age thing that you get your fangs and then you start killing people to get your food instead of drinking from blood bags, which is what she does. Right. And then there's a guy who is suicidal, and they meet, and he's like, well, I want to die, so why don't you kill me? And then it just sort of follows their story of them hanging out and getting to know each other. And yeah, it was cool. It was really fun.
That's cool. I don't even think I'd heard of that one, but
it hasn't been talked about a lot, but I heard about it a while back. And then I think Eric Kane had it on his list, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember hearing about that movie. And then it was streaming on SBS, but it's not coming up as being there now, so I don't know if it's gone. But
yeah, right.
Yeah,
I mean, you might have told us about it, but I wasn't listening. So
she did, because I remember her talking about it.
I paid no attention whatsoever.
I think I just sent a message when I watched it saying it was really good. But
yeah. Oh yeah, that message. Yeah, now I remember.
Yeah. Plus, also you reviewed it on Letterboxd, and I saw it there as well. So.
Yeah, I probably liked the review as well, as I tend to.
I imagine.
Not
reading, just
I'm
liking.
Such a nice guy. Cool. Nobbins, what do you got? Number 11. Bring it.
Number 11, I've got a movie that came out mid-year in Australia called Kill. Oh. And it's a Indian action movie where basically there's a guy, he loves this woman, but this woman is going to be married off to this other person. And they're on a train to get to the destination of where the wedding's at. And he's just taking, and some bandits hijack this train.
Right.
And he's got to fight these bandits. And there's not a lot of plot, but there's a lot of action. And it's one of the more intense and entertaining action thrills that I've seen over the last few years.
Right.
It's kind of like, I mean, not to say it's the same, but it's got that John Wick thing of, it's this guy just fighting so many people. It just keeps going and going. Completely different style and everything, but some of the style reminds me of The Raid. In The Raid, there's like a lot of close-in fighting action. Where there's just one guy fighting multiple guys in like a narrow space. There's a lot of that. And before I saw the movie, there's a lot of reviews talking about how gory it is. And for the first 40 or so minutes, there's a lot of action, but it's not particularly gory. And I was wondering what was going on. And then something happens. And after about 40 minutes, they bring up the credits. And it just completely changes gear.
Yeah.
It goes...
it's funny because you don't even notice, because you're going with the movie, you forget that they have never said what the title is. And then after 40 minutes, it just comes up and you're like, oh, yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
no, I'm keen to see that one. That is one that I do remember hearing about because a lot of people were talking about that one. So, yeah. All right. So for my numero 11, which I'm pretty sure is how they say it in foreign languages. I have a movie that so Frankie rated this one 3.5, Nobbins rated it 2, but I gave it a solid 4, and that is Lowlifes, which that was a Frank commendation, I believe it was. I think you told me about it, and I was like, "Oh, sounds good." But anyway, yeah. So this movie, oh my God, yeah, I watched it like a couple of days later again because I wanted to show my wife Kylie. I was like, "You've got to watch this movie." It was just such an entertaining ride.
And when you
So
can't talk about, that's the thing of it, is that
I
you
know.
need to go into it knowing nothing to get the
Yeah,
most
yeah,
out of it.
yeah. Yeah, it was the sort of thing. It really subverts your expectations in a really big way. This movie was so full of surprises, and had some really great kills and gore, and I thought the comedy worked really well. I thought it was really tightly paced. So yeah, it's essentially about a family on a kind of a camping trip who wind up in a house where things happen. That's about as much as I want to give away as far as the plot. But yeah, no, I just had so much fun with that film. Yeah, absolutely loved it. What did you say about it? What Nobbins starts off well, even though the twist is entirely predictable. I disagree. Second half goes off the rails.
Yeah, there's one thing that I can't say because it's a spoiler, but there was something that about one of the characters that is quite a tip off, I think.
Actually, I love the rest of Nobbins's review. Second half goes off the rails in a big way with some missed opportunities for character development. In the end, I wasn't sure what the point of it all actually was. I actually love that. The point of it, Nobbins, was to entertain audiences who enjoy that kind of film. So,
well, in that case, it failed miserably.
Well, it didn't, because I said for people who enjoy that kind of film. So shut up.
Well, I enjoy that kind of film when it's done well.
Look, we could argue about this all day, but actually, let's do that. So, no, just kidding, just kidding. All right, moving on. Number 10. Frankie, what you got?
Okay, my number 10 is Love Lies Bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a surprise. This wasn't really on my radar because I am not overly a fan of Kristen Stewart, but I heard lots of people saying good things. So I ended up watching it, and yeah, it's really good. It set back in the 80s, no, late 70s. I can't remember the dates. Back a while back. And yeah, Kristen Stewart works at a gym, and then girl comes to town who's into bodybuilding, and they look really like each other. There's a bit of insta love with that it happens way too fast. But besides that, it's an entertaining story. Ed Harris plays Kristen Stewart's dad, who's this weird guy with long hair, and just that's the kind of role that I would like to play if I was an actor, where you just come in and play the
you want to play a dad
guys. No, fun bad people.
Oh, right.
I won't even say
right.
guys in case you run with that. But yeah, I like fun villains, and he was one in this. There's a bit of a turn at the end that took me by surprise, because the movie is quite grounded until the end. And
I was surprised it went that way as well.
Yeah, and I watched it again recently, and the same thing happened. I'm not overly a fan of the ending, but it's still a really good film. So
cool.
Makes my list.
Excellent. Mr. Nobbins, what have you got for us?
My number 10 movie is a recent addition. I just saw it last week. It's a film called A Real Pain.
Right, A Royal Pain.
Yeah, A Royal Pain, as I called it incorrectly a few times. It's a Jesse Eisenberg movie. He wrote and directed and stars in it. And Kieran Culkin is his cousin and the other protagonist. It's about these two cousins who have grown apart a bit over the recent years. They used to be very tight, and they decide to, Kieran Culkin's character decides to go to Poland to visit his grandma's house before she fled Poland after the war. And so David, Jesse Eisenberg's character, goes with him. And they do a tour around Poland. It's advertised as a comedy, and it's funny, but it's not a comedy. So if you go into the movie expecting a comedy, then you might be a bit disappointed, or you might not go with the movie because it's a story about connections, about mental health, about these two cousins who are quite alike, but have grown apart for various reasons, and getting that reconnection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really touching. I felt
You felt
really
touched?
sad. I did feel touched
Yeah.
in all the right places. Um, and yeah, it's moving the way um, I can relate to the struggles of these two cousins.
Hmm.
They're quite different. Kieran Culkin gives this wonderful performance as this over-the-top character,
Hmm.
but Jesse Eisenberg as the more contained is equally as good a performance. Even though I'm pretty sure the awards will go to Kieran Culkin, Jesse Eisenberg, without his performance, he anchors that dynamic between the two of them.
Hmm.
If you enjoy a movie that's quite grounded, well, yeah, grounded, funny, but it's not a comedy, and has a lot to say about human relationships, especially in families, then I
Hmm.
think you'll enjoy this movie.
Oh, I hate all those kind of movies. So yeah, it's probably not for me then. No, that
Yeah, I had
sounds
a
good.
good time with this as well.
Hmm.
So
Cool.
yeah, I thought it was really good. I agree with everything.
Now we might have our first someone interjecting and saying hi. I'm not 100% sure because I know this is a film that Nobbins gave 4 stars to, so it could be on his list. I don't know. But my number 10 is Abigail. Nobbins? No. Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Not even in my honorable mentions, which
What?
shows
But
because
you
I really,
gave it
I
four
really,
stars.
yeah,
You
but all
loved
of
it.
my movies are
Yeah.
4.5 and above. So
Yeah, I
Jeez
gave
Louise.
a lot of movies 4 stars and had to just
Yeah.
pick the few that
yeah,
made the top.
I
Hey,
think
look,
it
I was
shows
so
how
desperate.
strong the year was.
I was so desperate. There's a couple of movies that I only gave 2 stars, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put them in my list. No, not really. Look, I gave it some thought because it was a very disposable, fun popcorn kind of film that is just
Also,
there
one of
to
your
enjoy.
greatest cinema experiences of all time as well. The first time
Oh
you saw it.
my
Mm.
freaking god! I'm never going to forget that. Yeah. So first time I went along, I'm like, okay, great. This looks like a really cool movie, even though I was disappointed they had to give so much away in the trailer because I do think that keeping the
Mm,
big reveal would have been a great surprise. But I kind of also get why they had to do it
yeah.
because it is the essence of the film. So yeah. Um, but yeah, went along, and there was just this group of absolute a-holes sitting up back just like yelling and carrying on and like calling out racial slurs and like the most extreme racial slurs and all this sort of stuff, and we're just like, oh my god, this is a horrible experience. Granted, we did get a free double pass to make up for it, but yeah, so no, you got this group of criminals who kidnap a kid ballet dancer and hold a ransom. And I mean, look, I can say it, can't I? Because we all know where this movie goes if you've seen the
Mhm.
trailer.
Oh,
So
yes,
it
if you've
turns
seen
out
the
she,
poster.
Absolutely.
yeah, exactly. So it turns out, yeah, she is a vampire, and yeah, they're locked in this house with this absolute ferocious demon of a child. But yeah, like I said, it was it wasn't anything sort of groundbreakingly different or anything like that, but I just had so much fun with it. I did get to watch it again when it was streaming, like yeah, able to watch it at home where I didn't have idiots around me. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, yeah, didn't reinvent the wheel, but I thought it was a really fun time.
Yeah, I
And
liked it. I felt like it had a slow beginning because we
mm,
knew what was going to happen.
yeah, yeah.
And so you're kind of just waiting for the little
Mm,
girl to do something. So there was that. But once it got
mm,
going, it was pretty fun.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, look, that's all I really need to say about it. I thought the cast was really good as well. I thought the characters were really interesting too. There was some moments like where that one character is kind of like, telling everyone about who they are just based on what she's observed from them and stuff. And I really enjoyed that scene. I thought that was really cool. Like I love characters like that. So yeah, it just gave me everything I wanted. So there you go.
Yep,
Moving on.
I agree with everything in that.
Yay. Moving on to number 9.
All right, my number 9 is Oddity.
Oh, which I have not seen, and I really want to, because both of you said it is the most scariest movie ever made, and I'm paraphrasing
Higher.
here. Oh, hang on, what was that?
Higher.
Oh, there it is.
I was waiting, and you didn't say anything straight
That's
away.
because Dan was talking, so.
Was I, though?
Yeah.
All right, well, I won't say anything until later.
Nobbins, moving on, number 9.
My number 9 movie is a movie called Memoir of a Snail, which is an Australian stop motion movie.
Right.
It's by the guy who did Mary and Max. I don't know if anybody's seen that, but it's another Australian stop motion movie called Adam Elliott. He specializes in these melancholy movies using stop motion to beautifully illustrate these almost tragic type characters. It's very melancholy, but there's also a lot of humor in it as well. If it was just sadness all the way through, I wouldn't have rated it as high as I did. But there's also a lot of humor, a lot of tragedy. It's about this woman who just looks back on her life from when she was born to where she is now. I don't want to say too much about it because there's a lot of twists and turns. A lot of sad things happen, a lot of happy things happen. The woman's name is Grace, and she loves snails, she collects snails and guinea pigs and romance novels. It's an odd combination. It's a very Australian movie in terms of the dialogue, which I love. And yeah, it's just a really, really well done movie, which I'd recommend to anybody who likes that style of movie.
All right. Now my number 9, I think we're going to actually be just moving on, because I am 100% sure that Frankie has this a lot higher on her list. So I'm just going to throw the name out there, Lisa Frankenstein.
Higher.
Yeah. I knew it. I absolutely knew it. Being that you watched it twice within a very short time of each other, and just I'm not gonna I'll let you talk about that movie when we get to it. So let's just move on to number 8.
Okay, my number 8 is Hundreds of Beavers.
Of course.
Which, again, I saw a lot of people, I think it played at a couple of film festivals, and I saw people logging it, and I just wasn't sure it was going to be my kind of movie from bits and pieces I've heard. I think when anyone talks about absurdist comedy, it's kind of like, well, I don't know. But then I watched I listened to, I think it might have been Pure Cinema's top movies of the year, and Brian mentioned it, and he talked about it as like Buster Keaton style mixed with Looney Tunes, and I was like, oh, that's not what I was expecting. And then I hadn't seen any video from the film, so I didn't know anything about what it was like. So but I decided to watch it based on that description, and yeah, it's so funny, especially the first 30 minutes is like possibly the best thing I've seen all year. Like the movie doesn't keep up as much going on as that first half hour, but still really good overall and really funny. And yeah, I had a really good time watching it. So I
would have given the first half an hour 5 stars because it was just brilliant. Unfortunately, the rest didn't. I found myself losing attention. I think maybe if it was a bit shorter, it might have been a bit more successful. But yeah, that first half an hour was just amazing.
Yeah. I didn't even imagine what this movie was like until I watched Chris Stuckman's top 10 of the year, and he put that as his number 1, but showed a heap of clips from it. And I'm just sitting there like, what am I looking at right right now. Like I really want to watch this movie so badly.
Dropped into it watching it, and so just had no idea what was coming until it started, and him like falling into the holes and popping out and all of that.
No, I'm so keen to give that a look because it looks phenomenal. So
this one I played around a lot with where to put it in my list. It had a whole different range of positions, but eventually I thought number 8.
Cool. All right, speaking of number 8, Nobbins, your turn.
Thanks, Daniel. At number 8 I've got Ghostlight, which is a small independent type movie, American movie. It's about this guy who's a construction worker, and he's kind of feeling a bit lost and flat in his life. And he happens to join a local community production of Romeo and Juliet.
Right.
And the movie's about how that changed his life and his relationship with his family. It's another one of those movies that I've been into this year where it explores dynamics of relationships between families and friends and the like. I really enjoyed it. It's once again that mix of the feels and the comedy, and it's got the balance right. I think the reason why it didn't get a 5 from me was, I mean, it got 4.5, so it's probably between that 4.5 and 5. I really think it's a brilliant.
So 4 3/4.
Yeah, probably 4 3/4.
Yeah. Okay, if anyone who works at Letterboxd is watching this right now, you need to update your system. Okay, we need quarters, like just
maybe 10s.
yeah, absolutely. Out of 100, like let's do it that way. 100 stars. Like,
some people do that. I've seen in reviews, and some people have all their different like categories that they rate on rather than just the overall film. That's too much work for me.
Oh yeah. I mean, like some people do like coffee cups and shit, like whatever. Losers.
Coffee tables.
Hey, speaking of cool. Sorry, was that all you had to say?
That was it.
About that. Okay. So my number 8 was a film that I did not expect to like as much as I did, and once again, Nobbins and I are about to clash here because he gave this one 2 stars. But that
generous, I imagine.
That was Civil War. Which is basically it's set in the near future. There's been this civil war that has erupted in America, which they don't explain why it happened or how it happened or anything like that, which I loved about the film because you don't need to know. It's sort of, they just throw you into the middle of this thing. And it's about a group of war journalists who are attempting to survive while reporting the truth. This movie I thought was absolutely gripping. It started off a little bit slow, but once it picked up, I just found this so compelling. Kirsten Dunst is in this thing, and I'm not ordinarily a massive fan of her, but I thought she was absolutely fantastic in this film. So was Kaylee Spaney. She was just absolutely brilliant. The performances were great. It really emphasizes the horror of war, I thought, and also just the importance of like wartime journalism and stuff. The way sometimes when you see like a photograph from some like historic war sort of imagery or whatever, and you don't really sort of understand the whole context of what you're looking at, but this film like really went into that. I thought some parts were really shocking and quite scary. Just overall, I loved this film. I really want to buy this one on Blu-ray because it's one that I would happily watch again and again, like when I'm in the mood for that kind of film. Let's see what Nobbins had to say. Oh, hang on. This review contains spoilers. He said it's not the movie he was expecting. Very well made and acted, but he couldn't connect with the story and found it quite boring for the most part. Well,
Very.
there you go. Although, see, now this is where you and I differed. You said, although it's portrayed as a political statement and an action movie, it's actually a mostly quiet movie about the relationship between media and the things they're covering. I didn't see this film was a political statement. I thought it remained very neutral, and it didn't really kind of go with either side. But yeah, actually, I'm sure why is your review marked as containing spoilers? Because the rest of it, you said politics are not what interests Alex Garland here. The Civil War in the title is a cipher and could have been any conflict. How's that a spoiler? Okay, Letterboxd. I'm not kidding. If you guys are listening right now, anyway. But no, that was my number 8.
You tick the box to say if you want it to be hidden behind a spoiler thing.
Oh, so Nobbins did that.
Yeah, I did that.
Nobbins, if you're listening right now.
I really liked the film too. There was a thing that happens near the end that I didn't like and just kind of confused me a bit.
Oh, you saw it?
Yeah.
You haven't rated it at all on Letterboxd at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
you missed that one.
There we are. I forgot to log it. But I did watch it.
Once again, the Queen of Lies. Ooh, I've watched like 6,000 movies this year. No, she's watched 6,001.
Yeah.
Did we though?
Anyway.
Yeah. All right. So yes, that was my number 8. All right. Now let's get into number 7. Frankie. 7. 7. Oh, the bongo just came out.
Which is another one that moved around a lot on the list before finally settling into number 7, and that is The First Omen.
Higher.
No.
Sorry, had to steal your thunder there. Yeah. So, well, we will talk about that shortly. Monsieur Nobbins, what is your number 7?
So, my number 7 is, I probably don't need to start because you've both got it higher on your list, I'm sure.
Oh, we absolutely do.
Is a movie called Thelma. I'll just pause for you to jump in and go higher.
Let me just Google what that is.
I know what it is, but I haven't watched it.
Oh, that's the prequel to Thelma and Louise. Yeah, right.
Yes, just Thelma. Yep.
Yeah, the backstory that we all needed. No, it's not really.
Exactly.
No, actually, I don't have that on my list, surprisingly. Nobbins. I know.
I can't believe it.
What an outrage. Anyway.
It's unbelievable. So this is a movie that is not done very often these days, in that it's kind of a throwback to like a 90s type movie where it's a feel-good comedy with no sort of pretensions about having a message or there's no political aspect to it. It's just some fun. So
it's good, wholesome fun.
Good wholesome fun. So the plot is that there's a 93-year-old woman named Thelma. Hence the name of the story, movie. And
now I get it.
She gets scammed by a phone scammer, and they take her monies. So the movie's about her trying to track down the scammer and getting her money back.
Right.
And it's played by June Squibb, who is 95 herself. And still acting. She was in like 4 projects last year.
Oh my God.
At 95 years old. So
what a legend.
Very good. She's very familiar to, well, she's probably familiar to everyone because she's been in like 100 projects over the course of her career.
Oh, she's great. What was her name again?
June Squibb from the Squid Games.
Ah, yes, of course.
Yep. It's written and directed by debutante Josh Margolin. And it's, as I said before, it's low budget, $3 million.
Pocket change.
And it's just a feel-good comedy. It's an hour and a half. It breezes by. It's the funniest movie I saw last year.
Wow.
And if you're in the mood for a good time, just with some good characters and having some laughs, yeah, check it out. Thelma.
It's funny how exciting it is now to see that a movie has a 90-minute runtime.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. It's like, well, this one only went
It's like
for
that used to be the
5.5
standard movie time is just 90 minutes, and then now it's rare.
Yeah, exactly. And for people like me, 90-minute runtimes are good because it's like, oh, the kid didn't wake up. I'm so happy.
You'll love the new Wallace and Gromit. It only goes for 75 minutes.
What? That's just crazy. No, that does sound good. I will add that to my watch list that I now use. Well, my number 7, and I've actually just noticed that out of my top 11, I think 7 of them are horror films. So keeping with that tradition, I added Smile 2 to my list because that movie really, really surprised me. I was not a massive fan of the first one. I thought it felt like it had just been kind of done before, especially if you're into Asian horror films. It just really had that kind of, vibe to it. And I don't know, it just didn't really do a lot for me. But I actually rewatched it not that long ago, and I did actually like it more than I did, back back when I first saw it. So yeah, there is that. But Smile 2, I thought, did everything that a sequel should do. It took the kind of premise of the first one, but it did things differently. Like, to me, the first film was a metaphor for mental illness, whereas this second one was kind of a allegory of substance abuse. And I thought that was really clever. It kind of, addressed a different theme in a way. Naomi Scott, I thought, was absolutely fantastic as this tortured pop star, with a dark past and everything. Like, that just really sort of fleshed out her character to me, rather than just like, oh, I'm a famous person who's, under this like horrific curse. So she was an interesting character. And yeah, I thought there was some really good creepy moments in it, especially in her apartment or whatever, like where there was her whole entourage or whatever, like coming for her. I just thought that was nightmare fuel for me. So and a lot of the camera work I thought was also really really great, like with some clever trick photography moments and stuff. There was one bit where the character of Sky opens up a like a mirrored door or whatever in her apartment, I think for a closet or something, I can't remember, but like the door opens towards the camera, and of course, like, there's no camera or crew or anything there. And it was one of those moments that probably a lot of people just wouldn't have even thought twice about it. But yeah, I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh my god, like, that is so freaking clever. Like, it was a really cool little detail. So I absolutely thought that film was a lot of fun. So and
I had that on my. Oh, sorry, I thought you were done.
Oh no, I was gonna say, I actually did buy the first one on Blu-ray because I kind of thought, I don't mind this film anymore, and I will absolutely be buying this one on Blu-ray when it comes out. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say I really like this one too. I liked the first film, but this one's definitely better. I really like the opening too, how it kind of continued on straight from the first film. And what they did in that opening scene was pretty horrific.
I love that bit where the camera just goes by and there's a person burning. Like, it was just sort of like, oh, what the fuck? Like, that just, it was just a weird little moment, but it was really disturbing in my mind.
And poor Kyle.
This
was really fun. There was a jump scare that really got me, which is similar to the first film, like in the jump scare from that.
Actually meant to ask you what that was, and we'll have to talk about this later on, because I had a suspicion what it might be, but I wasn't 100% because there were a couple of good ones, I thought. But yeah, we'll talk about that later. I totally forgot to ask you about that.
I had this all over my list. I had it higher than this at one stage, and then I had it a bit lower, and then it ended up in my honorable mentions.
Oh, spoiler. Jeez.
Well, I would have said higher otherwise.
Yeah. And we're not going to ask Nobbins because he gave it 2.5 and said it was an unnecessary cash grab. So yeah, he is exempt from this discussion. But yeah, no, that was my number 7. So yeah, let's go on. Number 6.
Did you like the first one, Nobbins?
Yes.
Yeah.
I like the first one a lot more than the second one.
Because that's, minority opinion there.
It definitely is, yeah.
Yeah, but look at his list of movies so far. He's got a freaking snail movie and Thelma and but just a whole bunch of things no one's ever heard of. Nobbins is unique. He is he goes against the norm.
I will say I have heard of all the films he's mentioned. I just haven't watched. Half of them.
Well, I'll just
being a real movie person.
No, I know. Hashtag fake fan. Anyway, speaking of movies, number 6, Frankie, what do you got for us?
My number 6 is Infested. And this is one I thought Nobbins may have on his list.
It's in my honorable mentions.
I know you liked it. Well, it's not a spoiler when it's obvious. So this is a horror movie, French horror movie about spiders, and is possibly one of the best spider horror movies I've seen. Like, they had really good effects in it. It was like super creepy. Even just a character picks up a shoe and a spider comes out and he kills it. And then he holds up the shoe again, and like a million little baby spiders come crawling up his arm and stuff. And it's just things like that just get you because spiders are creepy. So yeah, it's a group of people. Like, a guy brings home this random spider that the opening of the movie shows people in the desert. I can't remember where, like a Middle Eastern country somewhere, catching the spiders. And then so this random spider turns up in this guy that kind of sells things in a dodgy way to people. So he's just got this random spider in a container, and so this kid buys it and takes it home, and it gets loose and kind of starts taking over this rundown apartment building they're all living in. So it's the residents trying to survive, because then they get quarantined, so they can't leave, and they're trying to not be killed by these spiders. And there's some really creepy moments. But it's a really good movie. It's not being talked about a huge amount, I feel like. There was talk about it when it came out, that's how I heard of it. But it's on Shudder. But that was a surprise, because I don't know, going into a spider movie, you kind of have expectations. But this really exceeded those expectations.
It was funny when you said the spider gets loose. I just had this image of like the spider kicking back on a deck chair by the pool with a cocktail, and it's one of its many hands, and like a Cuban cigar, or
cocktails.
Tunes playing, and a bunch of spiders dancing on the side of the pool and having a good time. Like, the spider gets loose, But that was honestly the image that came into my head when you said that.
I don't use loose in that.
Neither do I.
So
neither do most people.
What? Oh, man.
I mean, I know of it, but I never talk about getting loose.
Was there a scene where they torch a bunch of spiders with fire? Because then you could say the spiders were getting lit. Oh, brilliant. Anyway, Nobbins, so 6.
What I loved about Infested, just carrying on.
Yeah, let us talk about it, just because you haven't seen it.
Wow, look at us. We've seen movies.
I think it's smarter than the average creature, even though it's got the creature feature type aspects. I found the relationship of the brother and sister, they're both mourning the loss of their mother, and how they deal with each other, they're quite conflicted. And once again, it's kind of like a few of the other movies I talked about, where they've had a good relationship in the past, but they're at each other's throats because they're living in the same house. And it's very easy to view either as being an arsehole, but they're both just people trying to come to terms with the loss of a loved one and trying to deal with that within
friendship thing too. So I really liked a lot of the characters, and that's what you want in a movie like this, because then you really care about if they're gonna make it.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool.
Dan, add it to your watch list. Now you have a watch list.
Oh yeah, no, I've actually,
You've already done
that
it?
is a movie that I've been very, very keen to see because yeah, no, it looked rather amazing, and I do like me some spider films, even though Arachnophobia is really the only one that comes to mind. But I know there was Sting as well, but I haven't seen that because I don't
Yeah,
watch
I was
movies.
planning to watch that one too, but it's not
Mm,
streaming anywhere, and I didn't feel the need to pay for it. So I'll get to it
yeah,
one day.
and as soon as I found out that it didn't even feature the bass player and vocalist from the Police, I was like, well, that is a
Why
misleading
would you?
title. Why am I going to watch this? Anyway, yes, Nobbins, number 6. What you
Did
got?
you say the bass player from the Police,
And
Stuart Copeland?
vocalist. Sorry,
Uh,
wasn't
Sting.
Sting the bass player?
Was he the
And
bass player? Was he?
yeah, and vocalist.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
Ah,
didn't
there
know
you
he
go.
played an instrument.
TIL. TIL.
TIL.
TIMFL. Okay, here we go. Round 3. Nobbins, number 6. What do you got?
Number 6.
Yay.
I have a movie called Oddity,
Ah.
which was earlier on Frankie's
Yes,
list.
that was my number 9.
Yes, and my not seen.
Yes. So Oddity is by writer-director Damien McCarthy, who this is a second movie. I quite liked his first movie, Caveat, but this is really a step above what he did there. It's one of those unusual movies, horror movies, that actually made me tense. A lot of movies, horror movies, I just sort of sit through and it's kind of, yeah, I'm enjoying this, but I don't feel it. I really felt the tension in Oddity. There's some great use.
Especially that opening.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, there's great uses of light within the house. The callbacks are fantastically framed. And there's a scene involving a tent, which is
intense.
Full on.
Get it?
Intense. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good. High fives all
It's
around.
just a fantastic execution of a paranormal type movie, which I don't always buy into, but I really bought into with this.
And like jump scares have a bad name because of all the terrible movies just
the laziness
doing their thing.
Yeah.
But
It's like
when
open
you
up the
actually
kitchen cabinet, it's like, oh, a cat jumps out. It's like, oh, that's where I keep my cat.
and it's like we'll just have a really loud bit of music when something happens. But yeah, when they're done right, they can be really effective, and this movie knows how to do them right. So there was a couple of moments that got me in this.
I know, based on your reviews, like there was one night recently I was laying in bed like at, I don't know, midnight, and I was scrolling through. I thought, oh, maybe I'll watch a movie, and I looked at Oddity and I was like, oh, that's that movie that you guys were talking about. And I went and reread your reviews. I'm like, yeah, I'm not watching that this late at night, like on my own, because you guys,
that's
like,
the best time.
Yeah,
and you get the full effect.
Yeah, I wanted to sleep that night. That seemed like a thing I wanted to do. Yeah, no, I'm so keen. That is like very high on my list of movies that I want to see because it probably might have made my list. I don't know, but
I love the character of Darcy. I thought she was so well written, and it's just such a great character.
Right, cool. All right, so what was that? Number 7?
6.
No, 6. Oh, we're up to me now. All right. So bit of disclosure here. I looked at my list of movies on when we did our favorites episode. You two know where this is going. When we did our favorites episode of movies that had been released prior to 2024.
Or in 2024.
What was that? Sorry.
Or in 2024.
Well, no, for our favorites that we discovered.
Yeah, exactly. When you picked a movie that was released in 2024.
Okay, shush you. So I went onto Letterboxd and I looked at the release dates of movies, and there was one movie that I saw was released in 2022, and I was like, oh, I must have been late to the party with that one. Maybe maybe last year, like everyone was just suddenly talking about it or whatever. So I threw this into my list of but what I completely forgot was that I saw this movie in Estonia back in 2022 at the Tallinn Dark Horse Film Festival. I actually genuinely cannot remember what that film festival was called now. I know it was Black or Dark something, but yeah, no, look, I wasn't actually there. Look, I completely fucked up. This movie was made back then, but it wasn't actually released.
Talon Black Knights, it was.
Oh, it was Black Knights. Well, I thought it was Dark something. Oh well, that's how off the rails my memory went. So yeah, this movie is, of course, The Coffee Table, which is it was Spanish. Was it a Spanish film? I think it was Spanish. I'm going to say it was Spanish. It could have been Portuguese.
Yeah, it was no, it was Spanish. I think it was
maybe Chinese, maybe Russian. It was one of those things. Yeah, this movie has still stuck with me after watching it early last year, when it was actually released. So yeah, can't talk about this movie. It's about a couple who have just had a baby. Can relate. They bring the baby home. Hilarity ensues as a little accident happens after they buy this coffee table, which she doesn't want and he really wants. He's like, I'm a man, damn it, I'm gonna buy the coffee table. And then it just becomes an exercise in anxiety and tension, and like, yeah, just it builds and builds and builds. And for that reason, I just loved this film. I loved watching this guy trying to worm his way out of situations and the truth about something that happened, and when all these people are sort of messing with his vibe, so to speak. Yeah. But yeah, I really cannot say too much more about it other than
this is like low lifes, in that you just want to go in not knowing anything about it. And that's what everybody was saying in their reviews and everything. I think I heard about it on the podcast, and everyone was saying that, so I avoided knowing anything about it. And I have never it was so tense through the whole movie,
wasn't it? But yeah, for that reason, because I am a really
very very dark.
Yeah, I'm a really big fan of movies that make me feel something, whether it be tension or anxiety or extreme happiness. That's why horror and comedy are my two favorite genres, because I find those two make me feel something the most. And yeah, this I wouldn't say this was a horror film in any way. I guess it was.
No, it's horror in that if possibly will make you feel really uncomfortable if you lean into that anxiety thing. So in that way, it's horror just sort of in darkness, but it's also funny. It's like pitch black humor. And
if you're a psycho,
it is.
It's hilarious.
Yeah,
it says the two psychos.
No, hey, as everyone says, it's like, but even when you're laughing at the darkness, the dark humor, the anxiety of it never goes away. So it's not like a release of the anxiety, but it's just, there's just some darkly comic moments through it.
Yeah, no, that's
just
of
the situation, because the situation is pretty
stupid.
That's enough from you. You are exempt from this conversation as well.
It's the kind of thing that they did a good job, because there's so many, Nobbins won't agree with this, but I think they did a really good job, because there's so many ways that you could mess this up, but I feel like they managed to keep that tension going for the runtime and everything that's happening. It's quite contained. Like most of the movie is just in the apartment that they live in. So and I was feeling it.
Oh yeah, no, same. That's why this movie is on my list, because it really made me feel something. So I absolutely loved it. I cannot wait to watch it again, which says a lot about me. But anyway, all right, we are moving on to number 5. So Frankie, what do you got?
Okay, this is one that's probably going to be on hardly anyone's list, but it makes mine, and I moved it up after rewatching it because I just love it so much, and that is Twisters.
Very good. Yes, no, I have not seen it yet.
I love an extreme weather movie, and making one in this time, the effects are really good for the tornadoes, and the cast is really good. You got Glenn Powell, And I mean, depends how much you like Glenn Powell. Because I had a work colleague that said, "Oh, he's so annoying at the start, but he kind of comes around at the end." And I just thought he was cool the whole time. Like I could get on board with his annoying YouTuber persona that he's got going on. But yeah, I just thought it was really fun. It's not anything groundbreaking in story, obviously, but it's just one of those good time movies with cool characters. Like his Glenn Powell's like whole team of people all really cool, and they even had the like UK reporter guy that's just tagging along for fun and freaking out at everything. So yeah, I yeah, definitely. I had to move it up. I had it lower, and then I'm like, no, this is super fun and really good. I'm going to move it up.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, no, I'm yeah, so keen to see that film. Did you see it, Nobbins?
Yeah, I thought it was really fun. I gave it 4 stars. I'm more in the camp of the character was annoying early on, but became quite
Which
endearing the more
one?
you learnt
The
about him.
girl? Oh, him, Glenn Powell's character.
Glenn Powell's character I found really annoying at the start, but then as you get to know him, you realise there's a reason for that, and he's actually a pretty good guy. So, but yeah, it's really fun. I really enjoyed it.
Nice. All right, Nobbins, number 5. What do you got on your lovely little list?
So number 5, I have The Wild Robot, which is an animation movie.
Yeah, hearing so much about it.
It's fantastic. It's one of the best animation movies I've ever seen.
Wow.
It's that high. So it's written and directed by a guy named Chris Sanders, who's responsible for directing 2 of my other favorite animations, which is Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon.
He makes great chicken as well.
Well, I don't know if he does actually, because I really crave it, and then afterwards I feel guilty for actually eating it.
Yeah. But anyway, hats off to the Colonel. Yeah. Sorry.
That's all right. So the story is that there's a shipwreck, a spacecraft lands, and a robot is basically stranded on a inhabited planet, inhabited by animals, but not humans or anything. So it's really about the story of Roz, who's the robot, who gets to know the animals and works out a way to survive, but also works out a way to interact and protect these animals. And it's just a really funny, gorgeously animated, like the animation is just unbelievable.
Wow.
Story, it's just, couldn't recommend it highly enough. It's fantastic. Loved it.
Yeah. I've heard nothing but extreme praise about this film. So, very, very keen to check it out. Yeah, you didn't see it, did you, Frankie? No. Oh, well.
Older movies, but not that one.
Yeah. All right. So my number 5 is a movie that, was both a Frank commendation and a Nobbins recommended it. Everybody was talking about this film, and I was like, you know what? I really need to watch this. And oh my God, I'm so glad I did, because that is Mads. Anyone got this higher on their list? No. So yeah, this is a zombie film, and right now a lot of people are rolling their eyes going, oh God, not another zombie film. No, this is not another zombie film, because this one was done so differently, mostly in the fact that it was filmed in one take. And this was genuinely filmed in one take. This was not like 1917 where, they filmed sections and cleverly blended them together. This was the 5th take, which just from a filmmaking perspective is mind-blowing. The amount of rehearsal that must have gone into this thing, the way that the camera moves so cleverly, where it'll be kind of stationary, and then when a car is going, the camera will be going with it, and you're like, how did they get the cameraman onto something to, like so effortlessly? But yeah, it was a very different kind of a zombie film, obviously set in real time, and yeah, just I don't know, just had a lot of really cool moments and stuff through it, and just yeah, I just really respected the fact that it did things very differently. So yeah, that was my number five. So and yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
guys
loved
obviously
this.
Yeah,
I
fantastic movie.
it just I really wanted to put it on my list, but I just had too many other movies that it missed out and had to go
yeah.
in the honorable
Well,
mentions.
there you go. I picked up the slack. I threw it on there because yeah, whereas you had 70 movies, I had seven. So
I had that too with Smile too, and I was like, oh, I don't want to leave it off the list, but I just feel like the other ones more. And then I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure Dan will have Smile too on his list, so it's fine.
well, I am going to kiss both of my children for making this curse into a blessing. That out of the 11 movies I watched this year, all of them just made it onto my list. So, yeah,
I think most other years Mads would have been on my list, which is
mm,
saying something about this year.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, that's pretty much all that needs to be said about that movie. All right, here we go. We're coming down to it. The moment you've all been waiting for. Number four. I don't know why you were waiting for number four. Like you should be excited for number one, but for all of those people out there who just cannot wait to hear what number four is, Frankie, what do you got?
My number four is Nora.
Oh yeah,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
total shock to everyone.
That is a surprise. I did not
Did not
see
see
that
that coming
coming.
at all. No.
No, no, not at all. All right, Nobbins, everyone out there, they are dying to know what your number four is because this is the big one. So
Hmm.
yeah.
I'd say to them, don't die. It's only a movie.
Yes. Yes, that's what
So
you would say. Uh
my number four
yeah.
is an Italian movie called La Chimera.
La Chimera.
La
As they
Chimera.
that's the worst Italian accent ever. La
Yeah.
Chimera. Yeah, that's better. Right, I have
So
heard about this film.
La Chimera is about a Englishman,
Mm-hmm,
Arthur,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
who is an archaeologist
Oh,
and specializes in robbing graves to make a
oh,
living with his band of merry men.
mm,
The movie starts with him having just been released from jail.
mm-hmm,
He's on a train
mm-hmm.
back to meet up and restart his crime.
He's been
And
in
when I
jail. Was
say
he not rehabilitated? What is the point of jail then?
exactly, he's
Oh,
a very rumpled man. He has like one suit or two suits, and
ah.
um,
Yeah,
yeah,
that kind of annoyed me. I'm watching it going, can you just like put some fresh clothes on? Especially when the movie starts with people going on about him smelling on the train. And I'm like, I don't know
yes,
if that was a bit or how real
I'm not
that
sure.
was,
I
but
thought it
it
was a
was in
bit, but
my
then as it
head.
goes on,
Yeah.
I think it was actually true.
Yeah. And
Right,
then he
right.
like didn't change for so long. And
Wow. Anyway,
So
no, continue.
Josh O'Connor plays the so-called hero
Mm-hmm,
of the movie, Arthur.
mm-hmm.
He learned Italian for this part.
Oh, wow, that's impressive.
Um, he spent his time on set in a caravan
Mm-hmm.
and didn't bathe, so he actually got right into the role.
oh,
Um,
that's too much.
some method acting there.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
So the
it's
train thing wasn't a bit.
I don't think so, no. But it's a really interesting movie about um, trying or connections with lost ones, I guess.
Mm-hmm,
So um, Arthur was in love with a woman,
mm-hmm,
and the woman passed away, even though we don't find out how or why.
mm-hmm.
And it's really about she's his chimera, and it has a lot to say about capitalism and um, various other things as well.
Mm.
So it is a little bit political, but in a light way. You wouldn't even notice if you weren't looking out for it, I don't think.
Right, right.
It's quite funny. It's very romantic. The performances are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The scenery is just flat out beautiful in the
Yeah, right.
movie. Yeah, it's a really well made. Um, I
Movie.
hesitate to say like a old style movie, so like those big panorama type movies in the 40s and 50s that used to have like the grand vistas. It takes that sort of approach to
not that
film.
you've seen any of those films.
No, but I heard about them.
Yeah. You saw screenshots.
I did find the feeling of the movie. I was like not exactly sure at times when it was set because it felt like really old style, but then also felt modern as well. So it was like a weird
because they had
mix.
phones and that sort of thing, mobile phones, but
yeah. But it felt like
I'm not sure either. It felt like an old style movie.
But were they like 1950s style mobile phones or more modern ones?
Yeah, I'd say more 1960s style mobile phones.
Yeah, right.
By the look of them.
Cool.
So, great watch.
That sounds good.
Recommended.
Cool.
I liked this one, and it was nice to see Josh O'Connor in something.
That's not challenges.
Josh O'Connor.
Yeah, Josh O'Connor.
That wasn't challenges because everyone in that movie made me angry. So yeah.
That was kind of like the cinematic equivalent of a bad internet connection. But anyway, but
not as bad as The Crow.
Which
saved it from being my least favorite movie of the year.
I just don't know if I can bring myself to watch that movie now. But anyway,
you don't need
so
to.
my number 4 is one that Frankie finally gets to talk about as well, and that is The First Omen, which absolutely surprised the everlasting crap out of me because I just didn't think this movie was going to be as good as it was. You know, when you've got a prequel that comes out like freaking 80 years after the first one, give or take, that's not normally. I find most of the time belated prequels and sequels aren't usually that great. This one, my God, I see all of us gave this movie 4.5 stars. Wow. I thought the first maybe 2 or maybe half, I kind of thought it felt like it was a little bit run of the mill. But then once you get to that third act, like, things just kick into overdrive, and it just made everything that, preceded it seem more worthwhile, I guess. I thought it was unsettling. It was really dark. There was a really cool mystery element that weaved its way through and stuff. And like we had a few surprises and things, and just the way that it ties into the original Omen, I thought was absolutely fantastic. Like they did such a bang up job of that. I just overall really, really loved that film, and very, very surprised by how good it was.
What's interesting is it came out at the same time as Immaculate, and I just rewatched The First Omen last night actually to help solidify my list order. And it's funny because there were things I had in my head that I had forgotten, like which movie had that, because they both have such similar plots. And I was like, oh, this is going to happen, and then I was like, oh no, wait, that was the other movie where that happened. So not any of the big things, but just some of the small things. So it was good to get it in my head again, like which one was which. But I thought this was really fun. I like The Omen. I don't have special attachment to it, so I was open-minded from the beginning of a prequel, because I'm like, it can kind of just do its own thing and just has to lead up to the end, sort of. I thought it was really good. I really liked the characters, the actors, the actress that played the young girl, Khalida. I thought she was really, really good.
Absolutely. That was a movie we all agreed on. So
well done us.
18. All right. Oh, here we go. Oh boy. Top 3. Oh, this is exciting.
Number 3 is the other one we had in common, because it's Lisa Frankenstein.
Right. Yep.
Which you had at number 9.
That was my number 9. I mean, I really, really enjoyed it, but I didn't go back to revisit it at any point. Like, I only saw it the one time. So that was probably one of the reasons why it kind of, didn't go higher on my list, but not anything to do with the quality of the film, because it was amazing. But I'm going to let you talk about this because this was a movie that was made for you.
Yeah, well, I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did because,
Mm.
yeah, it's got a very distinct style to it. And I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that's why it has mixed reviews because it's
Mm-hmm.
the kind of style that you'll be into or you won't be.
Mm.
But I just thought it was so much fun. It's not any kind of realistic movie, it's just all about just having a good time with this story of this this girl who likes to hang out at a cemetery in this particular grave, and then he gets awoken and comes to her house because she was talking to him at his grave, and then it's the process of her changing and him changing
Mm.
and how she's helping him become more human
Mm-hmm.
and less sort of zombified. And yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's just a vibe. You just got
Yeah.
to be
He
in
was
it. And
he was so
Cole
woke.
Sprouse.
Well, he was. He was woke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought Cole Sprouse was pretty good because a lot of the movie, like he's basically not speaking, so it's a
Mm.
very kind of visual performance, channeling a bit of Johnny Depp at times. So
Mm.
um, that was fun. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just such a feel good,
Mm.
fun movie with some like little horror nods. It's kind of like, I feel like if I had seen this when I was 15, I would have been absolutely obsessed. It would have been like, it's like the today version of The Craft or something that
Yeah.
could get a generation of girls into kind
Mm.
of not really like full on goth stuff like The Craft, but
Mm.
definitely into some
Digging up
darker
graves.
style
Oh,
things
yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, like you said, yeah, the style, the soundtrack was so good. Like,
Mm.
yeah, it was just a very unique kind of a film. I love Nobbins' review. He basically said everything that needs to be said a dang old time, and sometimes that's all you need from a movie.
Mm.
I don't think a review can get more appropriate than that. So
It's like Twisters. It's like some, you can watch films that are super important and
Mm.
say big things or are really dramatic and really pull you in, but then
mm,
sometimes you just want to have fun.
yeah. So yeah, no, that was yeah,
Mm.
I've
That
really got
was
to
my
rewatch
number
that movie.
two for most of the year.
Yeah.
Well, it was my number one for a while, and then it became my number two for right up until finalizing my list. And then
Mm.
I thought, no, I have to switch my number three and number two around. So,
Well, you do
yeah.
realize that Fateful Findings was not a movie from this year. You do know that, right? Just in case you've got that on your list. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
It's not
okay,
a
I'm
cool.
movie.
aware.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's all right. Because Neil
As
Breen did
modern
that.
as that film seems and all high tech,
Mm.
I realize it's not from this year.
Yeah, because Neil Breen did not release anything, or last year, we should say, because we are now
Yeah. Well,
several
we can say
days.
this year when we're talking about 2024 films.
Yeah, I guess so. All right. So, Nobbins, number four.
I have,
No,
well,
three.
number
Number
three, maybe?
three.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Are we
Yeah.
going backwards?
Well, I'm confused now what year it is and everything. It's just
Just
like
want to talk
Yeah,
about La Chimera some more.
numbers.
Nubbins, number three in that
Number three,
case.
I
Yes.
have Anora,
Yay.
Ah,
which I only just watched recently, as it
mm,
only just came out recently.
it did.
It is a movie from writer-director Sean Baker,
Hmm.
and it features the lead Anora, who is a stripper slash um, prostitute, I guess, working in Brooklyn, and
Hmm.
she meets this Russian guy who's the son of a Ogliarch, so a rich Russian dude,
Hmm.
and they decide to tie the knot, and it's all about what happens after that. His family are not very happy about it, so they decide to come to America to stop it, and it's like most of Baker's movies, they involve people in the sex industries, but they're
Hmm.
never judgmental about the roles that they play. They might
Hmm.
be judgmental about that person,
Mm.
but it's not for their choice of job, or it's usually about um, deficiencies in their moral caliber.
Right, right.
Uh, and in this case, it's a very I think the role of Honora is written very well.
Mm-hmm.
It's very sympathetic to her and her plight, I guess, um, because a lot happens after getting married to this guy, and some of it's not that great, but um, it ends well. It's written well. It's quite funny in places. And the performance of Mikey Madison is just amazing, and I think she should get a Oscar nomination for that role. It's
That
just
good.
brilliant.
Wow. Okay. So Frankie, you
Yeah,
had this
this
at your
was
number
fun.
4. So yeah.
Yeah, I this is my first Sean Baker. I've had Tangerine on my list for a long, long time, but I never got around to watching it. So this was my first.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm glad it lived up to the hype because yeah, I knew kind of the plot of the beginning of that she's spending time with this guy and they get married. But
Mm.
yeah, the henchmen that get sent by the family
Yep.
to deal with that after they find out they got married were just really fun. Like it's like
Yep.
fun bad guys again. And there's one particular Igor who's played by
Mhm.
Yura Borisov who just was really a standout in his character. And so a lot of time is spent her with the henchmen.
Yep.
And yeah, those scenes are really good. I feel like for all the dark things that are in this movie, it's a really light, fun movie.
Mm.
So because I was worried, I was like, oh, how dark is this going to get? But it doesn't actually really get super dark. It's quite fun. I think the way the henchmen are kind of, yeah,
Yep.
it's like a comedy drama, I guess you'd say. So
Yeah. I,
yeah, it's
I like the
light, but
way,
there's darker things.
yes. So Sean Baker um, doesn't try and gloss over the fact that those henchmen are not good guys. Even Igor, who's probably the most sympathetic, he's still not a good guy. He kills people for a living, essentially. But they're not all terrible guys as well. They're kind of
Mm.
slight. Everybody is not fully evil. Well, maybe not everyone, but there's usually some sort of redeeming character about people.
A lot of gray area, you mean?
Mm,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's cool. Like, yeah, I sort of had a mild interest in the film because I heard a few people talking about it, but after you guys have elevated it on your top 10 list so highly, I think I should check it out one day in about, I don't know, 5 years or so when I get the
Well, for all the movies we talk about that you add to your watch list, at least
yeah.
we've given you our top 10, so you have
Mm.
your priority ones.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So my number 3 is a movie that I don't think either of you actually got around to seeing this year, according to Letterboxd. And that makes me a little bit sad, but that was Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which was my number 1 movie at the time, even though that was back in May. But yeah, like so I showed Kylie the previous trilogy, or not previous trilogy, but the trilogy leading up to this one, and each one of those films is to me a 5-star film. I cannot fault them. It is, I thought, just one of the most perfect trilogies that has come out of Hollywood in a very, very long time. And I was kind of thinking, like, could this movie be anywhere near as good? I thought, look, even if it's half as good as those, like,
Mm,
it'll be a good time. Um, and from the trailers, it just looked like a very full-on action spectacle.
mhm.
And I, that's what I went in kind of expecting, was just a big action movie. It was not that. It had such a deep story. It took the classic hero's journey that has been done in films such as Star Wars and what have you. The sort of like eons old hero's journey. The characters were just amazing. The and Yeah, it was that kind of thing. Like, you'd sort of wonder how anything could follow up to Caesar in terms of absolute brilliance. But yeah, the character of Noah was, oh man, amazing. just it didn't try to imitate the previous films. It did its own thing in terms of, giving us like a whole new story, because it's set I can't remember how long after the previous trilogy it was set, but it was a while. But so in terms of like, Caesar is kind of a character in folklore now with the apes and stuff like that. And the CG was just, you look at the previous trilogy and you're like, okay, like, how can it get any better? This film is like, hold my banana. Yeah, it was, that sounds a bit wrong, but I was trying to think of an ape or simian kind of a thing. Yeah, every frame of it just looked incredible. There were also kind of nods to other IPs such as Star Wars, Tomb Raider, and kind of had those sort of feels to it. Yeah, I genuinely didn't think this movie was going to be as good as it was, but it was another 5-star film. Like, all 4 of these movies are just absolute perfection. And yeah, that is still very, very high on my list, because yeah, it absolutely blew me away. And you guys haven't seen it, have you? No.
I haven't seen any of the Planet of the Apes movies. The closest I got to an ape movie this year was watching Sasquatch Sunset.
Oh man,
which was not a 5-star film.
Yeah.
I watched the trilogy this year.
Yeah.
And then I got busy with other movies, but the thing that stopped me coming back to it was what you mentioned before about me being worried that it wouldn't live up to the bar that's set by that original trilogy, and me not really feeling the need for another story. It's like that trilogy got closed off.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I will watch it, but that I do hesitate for those reasons because of the high quality of the trilogy.
Yeah. No, like I said, this one is a new story. This isn't like they're just dragging it on for the sake of dragging it on. Like, I can't wait for. I hope this is a whole new trilogy. I don't know if that's what they're planning. But yeah, no, it is essential viewing if you enjoyed the previous 3 films. And oh my God, Frankie, you need to get on board with these films. They're so good. But anyway, enough being said about monkeys, because we are coming down to it. All right, numero dos. Frankie, over to you.
My number 2 has just moved up over time. I watched it again and I had to up the rating because I just loved it so much still. And that is Snack Shack.
Ah, right.
And from the director of Dinner in America, which is one of the best films of recent years.
Oh, yeah.
And so this is about 2 guys who are 14 who are little entrepreneurs doing their things to make money. The movie opens with them sneaking off from a school trip to go bet on the races and make some money. And they end up bidding to run the snack shack at the local swimming pool. And this is set in like 1991, I think, cool. Early 90s anyway.
Good year.
And yeah, it's just so it's following them over the summer. There's a plot with a girl that comes to visit the neighbor of one of the boys. So there's a bit of a kind of love triangle thing happening there, but it's not in an annoying way. And then there's a guy who I said in my review, he was one of the coolest movie characters of the year, and I still think he is. And that is, I think his name is Shane, but he's like a kind of older brother kind of guy that the 2 guys know and get on with. And he I think he's been away, so he's like comes back into town and has stuff. So yeah, it's just following over time, and it's just such a fun movie. The 2 actors playing the 2 main boys it's really funny because I don't know if I would say they look 14, but they pass as sort of young teenagers, even though they're both in their 20s. So
right.
It's pretty good. I think they made them 14 to get around certain plot things, like having them not able to drive. And there was something else that came up that I thought of as well. But anyway, yeah, they fully, don't look super old playing teenagers. And I just thought their chemistry was really perfect. Like it felt like they had been friends forever. And I saw that one of them posted a review on Letterboxd and said that he had like the best summer of his life filming the movie. So
cool.
That was fun. So yeah, so that ended up sneaking its way up through the list to get to my number two.
Nice. So
I really loved it as well. I thought it was a great time. Really
There's
fun
one
movie.
thing that I didn't like about it, which I'm sure anyone who's seen it will guess what that one thing is. And I can see why it's in there. I just didn't like it. So, but otherwise, yeah, perfect film.
Cool. All right. Nobbins, number two. Give us a big number two.
A big number two. The biggest number two I can give you is The Substance.
Oh, damn it. Damn it. Oh, this is going to hurt. But anyway, all right, please tell us about it.
I went to see this at the cinemas, and I don't often go to the movies. And it definitely helped with the impact because it really is a big screen experience.
Oh, thanks for telling me that. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, no worries. But I've also seen it. I did also rent it and watch it on the smaller screen. And even though it's not as, the visuals are massive, but it does translate quite well to a small screen as well. So
that's good.
It's fine.
But I should have gone and seen it at the movies.
You should have seen it at the movies.
Yeah. Okay, fine.
So as most people know, it's a body horror movie starring Demi Moore about Demi Moore's character, who is 50 and she gets replaced from her show on the TV network because she's 50, too old. So she gets a call saying, what if you could reverse your age? For 7 days a week, you could be a younger, better you. And who wouldn't want that? So she picks up the substance and it kind of transforms her life in a lot of ways that she didn't want or expect. So it's deliberately over the top. It's deliberately camp. A lot of people have taken issue with some of that, saying that it's derivative or not serious. In some ways, it's not a serious film. In other ways, it's very serious. Some people have also come out saying that the last half hour ruins the movie. I would say that it doesn't. It just reinforces the messages of the previous 2 hours. But if you're not looking at it the right way, then you probably don't pick up the message, which is that we, the audience, are implicit in the treatment of women of a certain age. It's just an amazing movie, just brilliant. Loved it.
Cool.
And just got beaten out to the number one position by the tinsel margins.
Oh, right. Yeah. So you've seen this one, haven't you?
Yeah, I really liked it. I didn't obviously get as blown away by it as most people did because it's not on my list. But I did find it really interesting. I liked the look of it. It kind of feels very 80s, but it's also set a little in the future. So but it just like, she's doing that exercise show. So that feels very 80s. But yeah, I thought it was really fun, really like crazy. Like I can see why people are saying that Demi Moore's gonna or should win a whole heap of awards because it's a really full-on performance that she does. So pretty good.
I think it's probably number one on my list of movies that I want to see from last year because everything I've heard about it. But the cool thing is, as much as I've heard about it, I've not really had anything spoiled. Like, this trailer came out and it looked very stylish and slick and just gave you enough of like, oh, what is this movie actually really about? And then I have heard like the last 20 minutes. Oh, hello, Frankie's showing her cat. I've heard like the last 20 minutes are absolutely balls out in terms of, extreme horror and gore and stuff. But from what I know from what I've seen of the film, I just can't imagine like why that is, happening or whatever. So, I don't know. That's got me very curious. But anyway, we'll see. All right, so my number two now. I know you two are like, which one's it gonna be? Because I've had two films.
I think I know which one.
Two films that I've been juggling, and both of them I loved so much for two different reasons. So it's been very difficult for me to pick which one of these is going to go where. But so I've chosen my number two spot, and that is going to Terrifier 3. Was that what you were thinking?
Oh
no!
I am surprised.
I'm
because
surprised
you've
as
been
well.
planting the seeds all the time that Terrifier was going to be your number one.
Look, it is still, and I know this is a topic that is up for debate, but this is still my favorite movie of this year in terms of I could just sit down and watch this movie, once a week, every week. Like, it is fun to me. Like, yeah, okay, so I've just gradually grown to freaking love these movies like you wouldn't believe. I started off like the first one, I was kind of like, yeah, I really dug it, but mostly because Art the Clown is amazing, but it didn't really have much of a plot. The second one, Frankie and I went to see at the cinemas, and I kind of thought, like, I liked what I saw. I liked the introduction of the Shaw family, and particularly Sienna. But at 2 hours and 20 minutes, it was just excessively long, and did it need to be that long? Which I still maintain no, because I just rewatched it recently, and there are so many scenes that could have been trimmed way down or eliminated. But whatever. But then this third movie came along, and it just made me forgive so much of the transgressions of the first two films. Like, the first one, I now sort of look, and especially with the introduction of the character of Vicky, who is a major part of number three, I'm like, okay, so that set up those pieces. That's cool. The second one, I still think things could have been trimmed down, but there was a lot of essential story in there in terms of who Sienna is and what her relationship is to Art, and this whole, now we've got this massive thing of, like, angels versus demons, and the chosen one to fight evil, and wow, like, it did everything right at 2 hours. I was like, yep, the runtime is perfect. I actually, with this one, kind of wanted a little bit more, if anything. It was just so over the top, but I loved that. I love the fact that in a scene where two people are just getting absolutely mauled by a chainsaw, there are things happening that you were just laughing at, like picking up the stinky foot and stuff. Like, I don't know. Yeah, there was just so much I loved about this film. I loved little cameos by, like, people like Tom Savini, was in there just being interviewed on some news footage. Oh man, like, yeah, I could go on and on and on and on about this film, but I won't. And this was one film that, yeah, I was like, oh, Frankie, you really need to check this film out because I think you're gonna love it, and you didn't. But that's okay. Because you really had a good time with this one as well, right?
I did.
Yeah, I had fun with it. Maybe I should talk next so that then Nobbins can bring it back afterwards.
Yeah. Good idea.
I didn't hate the film, but I just feel like there was very little plot development in the overall story, mainly later on. And mostly I feel like this is for Art fans, because it's most of the movie is just, here's Art killing these people at this place, and then he's killing these people at this place and these people at this place, and in very extreme ways. Like, every scene was like, let's be more shocking, not in a like bad way, but just in a, every time it was extreme stuff. And I like my extreme stuff to just be like a centerpiece scene or two in a movie, not over and over and over and over. And right. So it just became less enjoyable for me when so much of the movie is just Art maliciously killing people in such extreme ways. So it's a taste thing, not a movie.
See, I'm the opposite. Like, I thought the story was just, expanded so much, especially that ending. I mean, just sort of leaves so much speculation as to where the the events of number 4 are going to take place, which I'm not going to talk about because I don't want to spoil anything, but I think it's going to be a really interesting next installment. Yeah, but Nobbins, your journey with these films has been rather fascinating. Yeah, to say the least. Like, you gave the first one, what, 1 star, and only because the
1.5
clown
maybe.
amused you a little bit. And then the second one,
stupid.
you liked a bit more, and then this one, you were just like, oh yeah, here we go.
This one I got on board with more because I liked the second one a lot more than the first one, obviously, but I felt it was too bloated and padded. There's a lot of time given to things that were inconsequential with the family.
Yeah.
The third one trimmed that down a lot, and which I appreciated. So it was more, I think there was a bit of plot in there for me. The main thing I didn't like about this movie was that they employed Vicky as Art's proxy to talk, because you can't have Art talk, which was kind of, I don't like that as a device.
Okay.
But overall, yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah. I also really respected the fact that I heard so much about Lauren Lavera's performance as Sienna going into this, like that she just, gave such an amazing performance. And I was like, how good can it really be? But I thought, in terms of like her grief and trauma and everything, like the way that she portrayed that was fantastic. I really believed that she had gone through all of this, incredibly traumatic stuff that just absolutely destroyed her soul. Yeah, I thought that was really good. So yeah. Sorry, what are you going to say, Frankie?
I was just going to say I missed the pale girl, but I assumed that they did the swap out because you couldn't have a child actor, I guess, in certain scenes that were so extreme.
No, it was because the demon had possessed her, then came into Vicky, like, and that's why she was kind of dressed as the pale girl towards the end.
Yeah, I know, but I still missed her because she was cool.
Oh yeah,
I think
fair enough.
Stylistically, having 2 non-speaking characters might have been
I guess it's just a change up.
Yeah. All right. Now, for all of those people who, were waiting for our number 4 movie, which of course was the major plot point of this whole list, everyone's like, oh, number 4. I know there may be some people, though, who aren't as big into number 4s as many people are. Here it comes. The number 1 movie of 2024. Go for it, Frankie. What's your number 1?
Well, I think you'll be joining me on this one because my number 1 is Longlegs.
Higher.
Yeah, higher. No. Name? I don't know. Is there a way to? Yeah. All right.
Well, we're there, so
we are there. Well, I may as well, throw it in. This is my number 1 movie of this year as well. Nobbins, it's probably not yours.
No, it didn't quite make it.
All right. So Frankie and I will be talking about this one, and then you can just sit there and shut up.
Okay.
This was one of my most anticipated movies of the year because directed by Osgood Perkins, and I've seen all his previous features and liked them. And I'm glad that when the marketing campaign started, everyone else got on board to looking forward to it. So it wasn't just me. And I really liked the marketing campaign. I know some people had issues with it because it didn't give away exactly what kind of movie it was. And I know some people, I think, expected the Silence of the Lambs movie and didn't like what they got instead. But if you've seen his previous films, then you know what kind of filmmaker he is. So I knew the kind of film I was likely to get. Right. And I loved it. I remember I went to the cinema to see this, and on my half day from work, and there was only 2 other people in the cinema, and they were sitting a couple of rows behind me. So I felt like I had the whole cinema to myself, which was fun because, Nicolas Cage in this movie was the big, he's Longlegs. What does he look like? What is this? And it's such a good opening to this movie, and to set up, going into it not knowing, because the marketing was so vague and mysterious and enticing, and then to actually see him and the way the opening is, and because it leads into the opening credits, that first scene, and Yeah, I just love this right from the beginning. I know some people have said that Nicolas Cage was scary. I know you said
Oh
that
yeah.
as well.
Oh
Whereas
yeah.
I just was like gleeful smile on my face every time he was on screen because I just thought it was just so fun. And so
Mm,
yeah, I loved this movie. It confused me a little certain points in where the story went.
mm,
And I know we talked about the ending because I thought I heard something that you didn't hear, which I then rewatched
mm,
and it is there.
mm-hmm.
So there's kind of interpretations you can have on the final scene and where it's going to go from there,
Yeah,
which
right.
is fun. And also, I watched this again at home. I picked up the 4K and I've never had something sound so good through my home system as this
Nice.
movie. Like the sound, the way the sound is mixed and the sound design and everything
Mm.
just sounds so good.
So
It's,
no
yeah.
audio
So
cues that you could point out or anything like that. No faults there. Like it was all good.
I did not notice anything like that.
Right. But I mean, who does, right?
Yeah.
Um,
So
yeah.
yeah, I just can't really fault this movie. Like any kind of little things are not enough to detract from like full 5 stars. I could
Mm,
watch I could watch it over and over because
yeah.
yeah, and Micah's performance, like
Yeah.
she's playing such a like sort of held in character, which
Mm,
kind of feeds into the plot a bit and like there's a reason why she acts how she is in the
mm.
movie, but I just thought, have you seen her in other movies? I know some people took it as bad acting, but
Yeah.
I'm like, no, that there's like, it's her character, she's
Mm.
just acting that
Yeah,
character.
exactly.
And yeah, so there's a lot of cool things in this movie.
Yeah. I yeah, this movie fucking got me. Like I said before, I'm a big fan of movies that make me feel something. And that's why this movie I put as number one for this year, because even though Terrifier 3 was, like I said, my favorite, great popcorn film, watch it over and over again. This movie was just perfection on every single level in terms of the directing, the acting, the production design, score, the cinematography. Like there was so many scenes where, just there was just such a I don't know how to really put it into words, but I remember a scene where Monroe's character is standing in like a building in like a stairwell on a like talking on a payphone, and just the color palette and the concrete texture and everything that was there, like it just felt so real. You could almost like and the location of her mum's you know cottage or house, where she's just hoarding everything. You can almost smell it. You know what that place smells like. Which I know maybe sounds like I'm just getting way too into it, but no, this movie got under my skin, like
It's that
from
kind of movie.
yeah, from the very start, from that opening that just chilled me to the bone, and yeah, like I love that they didn't reveal what Cage was going to look like. Like we had no idea going into the film. And that you almost see him in that first shot. It's like, oh, there's still a mystery here. But the whole film just felt to me like it just had this dark cloud hanging over it. Like it is not a pleasant film in any sort of way. It is just so gloomy. And I know a lot of people criticized it for bringing in like a supernatural element into it, because they're like, hang on a second, this is a serial killer detective movie. Why are we suddenly going into this kind of, you know, paranormal sort of a realm? But I dug it, because why just do something that's been done before? I love the fact that it did go full horror in the third act. I just
Yeah.
yeah, and the there was one scene that actually look, I'm gonna openly admit it, like my eyes were watering. I was so fucking scared, like and that was the interrogation scene, where Monroe's character first goes in and to meet Longlegs, and that was actually the first time that she had seen him in his makeup and everything, so her reaction was real. But that scene chilled me so freaking much that it's very rare that I don't want to look at the screen, but I was almost kind of like, oh man, this is really getting to me. And
Wow.
yeah, it had that big an effect on me. And I was sitting there like, by the end of it, I'm just sitting there clenching the seat, just like, wow, my eyes are watering right now. It got me that deeply. And yeah, that is why this film is my number one, because for any film to do that to me, I think deserves being elevated above something that was just a really good time. So yeah,
And this is
yeah.
why I'm eager to see you watch Oddity, because that's probably the creepiest movie of the year, I think. So
yeah, you're not selling
if
me
you
on
feel
watching
that,
yeah. You're not selling me on watching this film late at night on my own. So but I will
now's the best time.
I will get around to it. But yeah, so no, that film was just, oh god, that did it for me. So we're gonna conclude with Nobbins and his number one movie of this year, because of course we've had to kind of reorder things a little bit. So take it away.
Thanks, Dan. I think I need to go back and rewatch Longlegs because you love it so much. You both love it
Yeah.
so much, and I was just underwhelmed by it.
Well, that's
I need
kind
to
of
give
why
it
I
another go.
didn't bother talking to you, because yeah.
But yeah, my number one movie was I saw the TV Glow,
Ah, right, right.
Mm.
which is probably one of the most divisive movies looking at IMDb.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of this is the most boring movie I've ever seen. This is absolute nonsense. Who
Hmm.
even wrote this movie and directed this movie?
Honestly.
And I can kind of understand it because it is a movie where, on the surface, not a lot seems to happen.
Hmm.
Um, it's from um, the the viewpoint of the trans experience, what it means to be trans and come out as trans,
Hmm.
and feeling that dysphoria, and a lot of it relates to that experience that the director Jane Schottenbaum experienced herself when
Hmm.
she transitioned. So it's as someone who has a trans kid, the movie spoke to me that way
Mm.
because I could relate to the struggles that he went
Mm.
through when he's going through that period.
Hmm.
There's a lot of allegory, allegorical aspects of the
Allegorical.
movie where allegorical, thank you, aspects of the movie where the message isn't just come out and said. You need to watch it. I've watched it twice. I really watch a movie more than once.
Mm.
You need to watch it a couple of times to really understand what they're aiming for. And I know people sometimes say that you shouldn't have to do that for a movie, but for good movies, sometimes you just have to put in the effort. And yeah, this is one of those movies for me anyway,
Hmm.
that I really loved in 2024. And as a result, it was my number one.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah,
All
I really
right.
liked this one too. And I also think you can get some relation to it if you just have the feeling of kind of being like an outsider
Mm,
to
yep.
people in general, like when you
Yes.
just feel like you're not like normal people are. So it
Mm.
works on that level as well. And also it has two very good musical acts in it, um, which were standout scenes that made me go to the end credits and be like, who are these
Who are
people?
these
I
people?
need to listen to their albums.
Mm. Awesome. All right. So that is our top 11 movies of 2024. We are now going to go into our honorable mentions, of which a couple have been
Mm.
spoiled, but we couldn't help that. It's just the nature of things. I reckon we'll just each do our we won't do it in
Yeah,
turns. So
no, just run it.
yeah.
And
These
then
are
we should probably overview our list too for anyone who wants to write down titles, just
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. All right.
each do our top 10 all together.
So, Frankie, take it away. What are your honorable mentions of 2024? The films
Okay,
that
I
just
have a
didn't
lot.
quite live up to the grandeur of your 11.
So as we talked about, I had Smile 2 and Mads on
Mm-hmm.
my honorables. I
Yep.
also had Strange Darling, which
Mm.
I feel like had more of an impact on the first watch than the second, which is why it dropped off being in my list. I didn't watch it twice. I just watched some of it because I had a few movies that I just watched a bit of to remember the vibe, to work out the ordering of my movies. Slingshot I had on there because I with Casey Affleck, who was an astronaut.
Damn it. Fine. And for all of those who want to buy some quality Casey astronaut merchandise, you just find us on the socials. Go, Dan and Frankie Go to Hollywood. Google it. We're there, and there is a link. You can buy quality Casey astronaut merch. Anything you can think of, you can buy it.
Yeah, I have ordered.
That's okay, kid. Mr. Astronaut was my dad. You can call me Casey.
Yeah.
I also had A Quiet Place Day One, which was one of my absolute favorite cinema experiences of the year. I think at the time it came out, I was like, this might be straight into my top 3, maybe top 2. I can't remember what was out at that time. But I rewatched it again recently, and it didn't have the same feeling watching at home, which took it out of being in my top places.
Right.
I also had The Instigators, which is not an amazing film, but very fun. The banter between Casey Affleck and Matt Damon was just so fun, and what makes the movie. And it's just a fun kind of heist gone wrong movie. Joker 2, I enjoyed.
Cool.
Yeah, it was fun. Interesting
Most people
idea.
did, to be honest.
And People's Joker was also very fun and a very different film, and like the way it was put together. So that was a really fun time. And of course, well, not of course, but the final one on my list is Deadpool and Wolverine, because Hugh Jackman as Wolverine will just get me every time. And in this movie, he was allowed to swear a lot, and that just adds to the grumpiness of the character that I really enjoy. So I can't really put the movie on my list because, if it was top 10 performances in movies, then Hugh Jackman would be on my list.
Cool. All right, Nobbins, honorable mentions. What did not quite make your list? But
what did not? Well, the movies that you guys have covered already. Infested, The First Omen, Love Lies Bleeding. I also had my honorable mentions list. The other 3 were a movie called Rebel Ridge, which was pretty sure straight to Netflix movie, which was good fun.
Yep.
The Incredible Life of Ibelin, which is a non-fiction movie about this kid who dies, and they find out that rather than living a friendless life, he had a lot of friends in the World of Warcraft community, which is quite touching. And the last was Perfect Days, which was Wim Wenders' movie, which was released here in 2024 and tells a story about what is a life well lived.
Cool. One with many cats. That's what a life well lived is. So I didn't think I had honorable mentions, but looking at my movies watched from this year, from last year, I do have a few that I thought were quite good. The first one being the remake of Roadhouse, which really surprised me. Like, that was such a fun time and like such a great remake. I actually preferred it to the original, to be honest, which I
definitely prefer it to the original, but I wasn't a huge fan of the original, so it was a low bar.
I only saw it for the first time, like not that long ago, and
I saw it within the last couple of years.
It was all right, but no, the remake I thought was a really solid film. The other ones that I had, I really enjoyed Alien Romulus. Like, I know it rehashed so much of what had already been done before, and I will never forgive it for bringing back that iconic line of dialogue that just was so on the nose. I half expected Fede Alvarez
Which line was that?
Where he says, "Get away from her, you bitch!" Like, come on. Like, that was
I
so
didn't even
unnecessary.
remember
I
that
expected Fede to appear on screen and like wink at the audience, and it wasn't scary. Like the trailer, made it up to be this like really horror kind of a film, but it wasn't at all scary. But I still had a really good time. I thought, in terms of a lot of the recent Alien flicks, I actually thought it was one of the better entries. There were
I was disappointed that like especially the original Alien, which is the only one I've seen in ages. Like the characters were all really cool, and just there was enough of them that even if you didn't get that much screen time, it was enough. Whereas I didn't really care about any of the characters.
Yeah, so I was the other way around. I quite enjoyed the characters in this one, but and the only other one that I've got was something that I recently saw and had so much fun with it. I was really contemplating putting this in my top 10, but that was Carry On, the new Netflix film that about a TSA agent at an airport who has to try and help a kind of a terror, not really a terrorist, but this guy like smuggle a bag through which has a nerve agent that he's going to let go on a plane. And my god, you have to suspend disbelief in this film. Like, there are so many ridiculous moments that just, I mean, I'm sort of sitting there thinking, like when he's having a conversation with Jason Bateman on the thing, and I'm like, this is Christmas Eve, like, busiest time of the year. Like, wouldn't the line at his terminal be going out the freaking door of the airport and doing a lap around LAX? Like, there are so many things that you've just got to go with it. But if you can do that, then this movie was a lot of fun. So fast paced from start to finish. I thought there was never a dull moment. And I had a really good time with it. I think, it is the kind of movie that I could definitely rewatch, as a Christmas staple. So,
There's actually a pitch meeting this week for
I saw it.
Carry On. Yeah,
I saw it. Yeah. And that really, but I got the impression that Ryan George really enjoyed the film, and it was one of those things that he's just doing it because it's his job. But,
I quite liked it as well, despite some of the ridiculous plot holes, and it's fine.
Yeah. All right, so Frankie, did you want to recap your top 11 then for those who have only just tuned into this part of the podcast?
Well, no, it's so that if people want to write down the titles.
Look, if you had balls, I'd be busting them right now.
Do.
Well,
okay, number 11, humanist vampire seeking consenting suicidal person. Number 10, Love Lies Bleeding. Number 9, Oddity. Number 8, Hundreds of Beavers. 7, The First Omen. 6, Infested. 5, Twisters. 4, Anora. 3, Lisa Frankenstein. 2, Snack Shack. And 1, Longlegs.
Awesome. Nobbins.
At 11, I had Kill. 10, A Real Pain. 9, Memoir of a Snail. 8, Ghostlight. 7, Thelma. 6, Oddity. 5, The Wild Robot. 4, La Chimera. 3, Anora. 2, The Substance. And 1, I Saw the TV Glow.
Nice. So hang on, because my list, I just wrote all the movies and then I put numbers next to them, so they're all out of sync. But so number 11, I had Lowlifes. Number 10, Abigail. Number 9, Lisa Frankenstein. Number 8, Civil War. Number 7, Smile 2, Electric Boogaloo. Number 6 was The Coffee Table. Number 5 was Mads. Number 4, The First Omen. Number 3, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes of the... number 2 was Terrifier 3. And number 1 was also The Legs That Are Long. So cracking lists. Round of applause for the year 2024. Thank you for bringing us so many brilliant movies. But we're not going yet, because little Miss Frankie has something that she wants to do. She's got a little game for us to play, apparently.
Yes. Well, you all know that half the reason I watch movies is because of the people that are in them. So I thought it would be fun for you to guess who my top most watched actors are.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that in my top 5, there is 7 because, there was equal number of films for a few people.
Okay, yep, I got you. And so, you often cram things into one spot.
Hey, I can't help it.
What you do, it's your thing.
It is what it is.
Yeah. All right, so how are we doing this?
So I'll give you seven guesses because there's 7 people.
Right.
Can I go first?
Yes.
Casey Astronaut.
Yes, he is number 3.
Okay. Now, is this
with 10? I watched 10 films.
So this is general movies, not just releases.
This is everything. No, this is everything I watched in 2024.
Okay, Michael Shannon.
Because Casey Affleck didn't have 10 movies out this year.
Exactly. Michael Shannon. Oh, what?
He is my most watched actor, but not like of all time, not of this year.
Damn it. Okay, Nobbins.
Kyle Gallner.
Yes, he is joint number 4.
Brad Dourif.
With hang on, 8 films, and Brad Dourif is the other joint number 4 with 8 films.
Nicolas Cage.
No.
What's that dude's name? Hang on, bear with me. That dude is Richard Harmon. Boom.
Yes, he is joint number 2 with 11 films, and that's Low Lifes to thank for those 11 films.
Yep.
Low Lifes was one of them.
Oh no, I've got one. Okay, Nobbins, over to you.
I don't know how many guesses we've done, but
I don't know either. Are there any women on there, or is it all dudes?
There's one woman.
I don't know. I give up.
Well, I was going to say Neil Breen, but no, I will say Micah Monroe.
No.
Okay. I mean, I'll say it, but it doesn't have to be right.
Sydney Sweeney.
One more guess. No.
Sydney. Because you saw a couple of her movies.
Zendaya, because you watched Challenges like 30 times.
You do know that I have given you like 11 films and 10 films and stuff for other people. So
did you though?
A lot of films. Yeah. Did you give up? All right. One more guess, Dan.
Oh, the Joanne.
It'll be some old person. Is it some old person?
Brad Dourif is the oldest person.
Yeah.
Everyone is living on the list.
Oh, they're all living. I thought it'd be some dead guy.
Is it not Joanne?
Who?
Joanne.
That famous actor.
There's no Joanne on my list.
Okay, I just wanted to check because I don't know, but we did pretty good. We got a few.
Yeah, you got a few. Okay, number 5 with 7 films was Brad Pitt.
I forgot that guy existed.
So you got number 4 with Kyle Gallner and Brad Dourif having 8 films.
Yep.
You got number 3, Casey Affleck with 10 films.
Yes.
You got half of number 2, Richard Harmon with 11 films.
Yes.
The other person with 11 films was Emma Stone.
I forgot she existed as well.
Number 1 with 12 films, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Now,
oh my God. And we thought we knew you, but and you thought
you did pretty good.
We did all right. I mean, we got the sort of more obscure ones, I guess, in a way. Kind of, not really, but anyway. All right. Well,
I thought you'd get Emma Stone easy, considering how much we've talked about her through the year.
Yeah, but I don't
You'd
pay
think so, wouldn't
attention
you?
to conversations. I don't even pay attention to what I say, which is clearly after today where I thought we all knew what time we were starting.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just don't pay attention to anything. No, it's look, if you Nobbins can verify, when you have kids, you don't pay attention to anything that is going on in the world.
That's fine. I just thought it was a fun thing because
it was.
That's just how am I watching. Oh, do you want to guess who my most watched director is?
Neil Breen.
It's someone that you know well of. It's not someone that you wouldn't have heard of.
Neil Breen. No,
because
it has to be.
Because I will say, this director, I watched 6 of their films.
I was going to say, Yorgos, but you wouldn't have seen 6
Nobbins,
of his movies.
you may not know this director. Except for us.
Is it Neil Breen? No, hang on, I already guessed him. Hang on, who directed Challenges?
Is it the guy? Is it the guy who did Hell in a High Desert or whatever it's called?
Luca Guadagnino.
No.
Luca Guadagnino. No.
It is a low budget indie director.
Oh, Damien Leone. Nailed it. Oh.
Is it that guy you always talk about who comments on things and responds to things?
Steve Brzezinski.
I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah, nailed it. I was going to guess Joanne next, but yeah, there you go. All right, cool. Yeah, nailed it.
I got it, but I just didn't know who it was.
Yeah, well, fake fan.
We did better than Dan.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, well, I reckon it's time to get out of here because we've rambled enough and stuff, and yeah. But anyway,
yeah. So we have one more special coming.
Yes.
Sometime during the rest of this month, where we're just gonna catch up the end of our summer holidays, sort of, even though we'll be going into probably the worst month of summer afterwards. And then February we'll announce movies next time, and then February we'll be back to our normal thing of just talking about what we've watched recently and highlighting 3 particular movies as well.
Yep. And then, of course, coming up at an undisclosed time, because we haven't really worked out when we're going to do it, we will be having our first annual Deaf Academy Awards, where I
thought you wanted to do that around Oscars time.
Well, yeah, that's what I think so. But yeah, where we're going to be having our kind of like mock, Oscar awards sort of a thing, but with cool categories. So yeah, that's and every winner will be bestowed in spirit a gold cat trophy. Which is just going to be just so amazing. Imagine winning one of those. Metaphorically, it's like, I won an award. Oh, can I see it? No, you cannot, because it is in my imagination. But anyway, all right. Well, we are out of here. So thank you for whatever you did, whether you listened to this or you watched this or you transcribed it. You sat there like, oh, hello, we've got to see. Now, this is why you guys.
This is Cooper.
This is Cooper. Yeah. So
sorry to the podcast audio.
Yeah, everyone who's just listening to this, you're missing right now. Cooper has just made his way onto Frankie's screen, getting cuddles. He is a cat, I should point out. So if this was not a good reason to come and watch the YouTube version of this, I don't know what is. Oh, look at that, he's giving her kisses. Oh my god. All right, we are out of here. Thank you so much to everyone who has watched not only this one, but been with us through all of 2024, which was of course the first year that we did this podcast. And we have just had so much fun doing this. It has been an absolute blast. Thank you very much, Nobbins, for once again joining us and being part of the Daff family. Dan and Frankie and Nobbins. So Daffan, you are
the German film.
What's that?
It's a German remake of The Fan.
Yeah, The Fan.
That's a movie I've been trying to see for like a decade.
Yeah,
it's a very silly
thank
movie.
you also to Cooper for gracing us with your presence. Stay tuned for more holiday episodes and stuff. And until then, stay safe, watch lots of movies, and bye for now.